Season 1 Reloaded has been announced for Call of Duty, Warzone multiplayer and Modern Warfare Zombies, kind of, but we'll get to that later. And it's proven to be surprisingly controversial, and I don't really understand why. Maybe you'll be able to help me out with this. Now, I know my opinion tends to be different to that of the kind of overall COD community hive mind, and I don't do it for clicks. I know some people think that I'm just trying to do it to drive engagement, but I genuinely believe skill-based matchmaking is a really good system, and I wish it was stronger. I genuinely believe that Advanced Warfare was one of the best Call of Duties of all time. I really liked the Modern Warfare 2 beta when footsteps were really loud and we didn't have red dots on the minimap and guns had loads of recoil and all of the attachments had significant downsides. I thought that's the best Call of Duty's been in like the last 4 years. So it doesn't often surprise me when I find out that my opinion seems to be going against the grain of what people are saying online about Call of Duty. But with Season 1 Reloaded, there's something I just don't understand. So in this video, I'll be breaking down all of the new content and changes coming to multiplayer, Warzone and Modern Warfare Zombies next Wednesday, so it's January 17th at 9 AM PT, which is 5 o'clock in the afternoon in the UK. So next Wednesday, that's when all of this is going live. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you think about these, and if you can explain where this controversy has come from. So let's start with multiplayer, because it's probably the thing I'm least interested in. I have been kind of enjoying the Modern Warfare 3 multiplayer, but mostly when I've been playing in custom games with the community. We do that every Friday evening at about 7 o'clock UK time. We play a bunch of private games, and that's been fun, playing some gun game, messing around on different maps, playing some cutthroat, gunfight. It's been pretty good. I wish that they'd add a few more kind of private game options so you could customize things a little bit more, but it has been a laugh. Now for the Season 1 Reloaded update, we're getting one new 6v6 map, and that feels a little bit stingy. Like, Modern Warfare 3 launched with a bunch of Modern Warfare 2 maps, all of the Modern Warfare 2 maps obviously, and then they kind of added some maps from the last game, from the Modern Warfare 2 2022 game, and then at the beginning of this season they added 2 new multiplayer maps, and now we're just getting one new one. Kind of feels a bit of a shame that we're not getting some new gunfight maps or something like that as well, or a new ground war map, like something bigger. But anyway, the new 6v6 map is called Rio. It's set in Rio de Janeiro. It's a medium-sized map with an indoor mall surrounded by a main street tram station, market plaza and cafe. It says there's a covered walkway on there and there's an armoured vehicle you can use for cover. It just looks like a very kind of bland Call of Duty 3-lane map. You can go up the left, you can go up the right, you can go through the middle if you want, and then there's some little routes and elevation changes between them. I'm sure it will be absolutely fine. I do kind of miss the days of us getting crazy maps. Like, earlier on in the intro, I talked about Advanced Warfare. Advanced Warfare used to have some absolutely insane maps. They were so creative, so bizarre, and when you got the DLC maps, you never quite knew what it was going to be like. With these maps, it's like, oh cool, it's a big building and you can go around the left, you can go around the right, or you can go through the middle. That's like a lot of other maps that we already have. Now, perhaps a little bit more exciting is that we're getting some new modes for 6v6. So we're getting Team Gunfight, which works the same way Gunfight does. So 2 teams fighting off against each other. If you go down, you're out for that round. You get a randomized loadout at the beginning. But Team Gunfight has you playing in 6v6 on the bigger maps. So that's pretty cool. I think Gunfight's a really cool game mode. I'll definitely give that a try. I really hope they add this to the private games. They haven't added any of the event modes like the Christmas stuff or Vortex to the private games, but hopefully this will make the move over. We're also getting Headquarters, which, you know, is a little bit like sort of Domination or Hardpoint, but a bit of a twist on that, so that's a lot of fun for people who like that. And we're getting Infected, which I know loads of people really enjoy. Again, if it's on private games, I'll have a great time with it. If not, I probably won't bother with that, to be honest. Then there's a new limited time mode coming with the Boys event. So they're adding another Boys event. You know, we had like Starlight and Homelander in it before. Now we're getting A-Train and some other person who I didn't even really recognize. But they're doing another challenge where if you complete challenges in the new event, then you get some cosmetics and stuff like that. These events, I think it's kind of cool having extra little progression things, something new to do, something new to see, and they're all for free, so it's hard to complain about them. I don't find them super exciting, I wouldn't say. I don't think there's been any rewards that are involved in them that are great, because they tend to save the really good stuff for the bundles. But they're fine, and I like it when they do this where there's specific challenges to try and do. Like, some of them are saying things like, get 2 operator eliminations in a single life with overkill equipped 5 times, or get 7 operator eliminations using lethal equipment. Just things that might try and get you to try and play in a slightly different way maybe, or try some different features of the game, rather than just having like what we've had in the current event where it's just XP based. So that's kind of cool. And then the final big thing for multiplayer is that we're getting ranked mode back. It always feels a bit odd in Call of Duty that every year they just sort of take everything away and then slowly drip feed it to us across the year. But yeah, ranked mode's coming back. I think ranked in multiplayer is really, really cool. I'll definitely give this a try again. Normally the rewards for that are pretty cool, and it is fun going through the leagues. I'm looking forward to when they add ranked back into Warzone. I don't think that's going to be happening until at least Season 2 or maybe even Season 3. We're going to be waiting a little while for that, but it's nice to have it back in multiplayer. Now onto zombies, and sadly this is an incredibly short section, and that's kind of interesting in itself. So there's only one new thing coming to zombies, and that is there is a new warlord. So there is Dockerby, who's an operator that's been in the game for a while, I think, and she's going to be up on that big skyscraper in the city, and apparently she's going to have a fleet of self-programmed autonomous drones ready to attack people. So there's going to be drones, turrets, and a wheelson as her main line of defense. When they say drones, I'm wondering if it'll be something like the Mosquito drones, or whether it'll be something different, maybe like bomb drones or something, because we've had bomb drones in raids and stuff like that before in Call of Duty. It would be cool if it was that new swarm kill streak that's in Modern Warfare 3, but I kind of think that's unlikely, sadly. Maybe it'd be cool if like you could do something and that activates if you manage to kill her or something like that. I would love to see that swarm kill streak being used against the big worm, the secret boss at the end of the game. But sadly, that new warlord, having Dockerby in the game, is literally the only thing that's new. And that sucks. It doesn't even say that there's new rewards for beating her. It's not like people who have done everything else in zombies, now they can go fight her to get some new rewards. It sounds like we're just going to be getting the same rewards that you've probably already got. So there's not really much point in doing it other than, I guess, for the experience of it. So you'll probably do it once and then never bother with it ever again. That's a real shame, and I think it's a worrying sign for zombies as a whole. Like, this mode really kicked off really well. I think lots of people were very skeptical of it before it came out, based on all of the zombies YouTubers who were invited to go see it, like, before the game came out. They were a little bit negative about it, they were a little bit worried about it maybe, and then when it came out, it got a really good reception, people really enjoyed it, and then the thing that I was kind of worried about and I talked about when it came out happened, that it was a lot of fun at the beginning, but then once you'd worked through the content, because there's no PvP, because the challenge isn't really there, like once you've got used to the game, you kind of understand how it works, it doesn't get particularly difficult. There's just not much replayability. So if you're not going to include things like PvP, and I understand the arguments about why they might not do that, instead you kind of need to keep on dripping people content. You need to keep giving people new stuff to do, new challenges to take on. There's a lot of people that are in my situation, not even just content creators, but just normal people playing the game who have already got all of the schematics, they've already completed the missions, they've already unlocked Borealis or Bioluminescent if they wanted to do that. And now it's kind of, what's the point in playing zombies? Every match feels the same. It doesn't have kind of random events happening. I saw Dalek saying on Twitter that he'd like it if there was some maybe random public events or something. That would be really cool if there was a bit of variety in matches. But right now, it feels like every time you go in, there isn't that kind of variety. There isn't something different happening. And because it's not like round-based zombies where you could try and, you know, speed run the Easter egg, or you could try and see what's the highest round you could get up to or something like that. It just doesn't have that replayability right now. Then that coupled with, at the beginning of Season 1, we didn't get a whole new act. I know they called it Act 4, but there was literally one mission in it. Like, they didn't have a normal new set of missions like what we'd normally get with DMZ. And then I know they added, like, the Easter egg where you can go and fight the big red worm, but that's the same boss as the boss that's at the end of Act 3 and at the end of Act 4. And then there was the whole thing of unlocking the Dark Ether. But for most people, you kind of go into the Dark Ether, you complete it and get an Elder Sigil, you complete it again with the Elder Sigil, and then you're done because you've got all of the rewards if you manage to complete it. It was a nice extra little challenge, but it wasn't much. It didn't give much for people who are like kind of hardcore players of zombies. It didn't give people like that much to do. It just feels like we didn't get a lot of content at the beginning of the season, and I was like a lot of people thinking, oh, maybe it'll be like DMZ, where the main game, Warzone multiplayer, that gets all of the attention with the beginning of seasons, and then the season reloaded part, that's where this mode gets its attention. And it's just not. It's just not getting hardly anything. Hopefully, there'll be a bunch of stuff coming Season 2. Maybe they will have seen oh, it was more successful than they expected. Maybe, you know, they saw people were enjoying it, people were making more of it, so they didn't want to invest in it when maybe they didn't know what the reaction would be. But now it's been quite successful at the beginning. Maybe season 2 or 3 will really start to get some content. But yeah, right now I'm just kind of worried that they don't seem to be talking about it much at all. Then finally we can get onto Warzone, and this is where I think the most exciting changes are. I feel like I've made a lot of negative videos lately, so it's nice to be excited about something coming to Warzone. So first of all, big changes coming to the Champions Quest. That's going to be returning. This is the nuke contract, where previously you had to get 5 wins in a row, and then everyone on your team would get access to a nuke contract. So you'd have, like, if you're in quads, 4 attempts to do it. And it was super hard. You had to go around the map getting different elements, hold on to them for the entire game while they were kind of having negative effects on you, and then plant them, arm the nuke, and then defend that until it went off. I managed to do the nuke contract in terms of I got access to it. I managed to win the 5 games and have a go at it. Had like 4 goes at it, but then sadly never managed to complete it. I still haven't got a bloody nuke. Maybe one day we'll manage to do it. But they've made it in Season 1 Reloaded a little bit easier to do this. So since Urzaxan launched, it's actually been disabled. You couldn't do the nuke quest at all. But when they're enabling it, you're not only going to be able to access it by winning 5 games like before, but you're also going to be able to access it if you just manage to win 30 games. Now that's a lot of games to win. Like, people who win a lot of games are still unlikely to hit 30, just in terms of how long that takes, more than I would say probably once a month. Like, I'd be surprised if many people were winning more than 30 games once a month. So that means, you know, maybe intermittently your team, even if you're not good enough to be able to win game after game after game in a row, you're still going to be able to have a try at this eventually. There's also a third way to access it, and that's if someone is on the nuke contract, they start it in your game, and then you kill that team, you actually get to pick the contract up and see if you can complete it. So that means now there's 3 ways to access this nuke contract, which means way more people are going to be able to enjoy this content, way more people are going to be able to give it a go. I don't think it means many more people are going to be successful. The nuke contract is insanely hard even for the very best teams, but some people might get lucky, and it means you're going to have an adventure. It's going back to that idea of there being a bit more variety in the game, there being more stuff to kind of shake it up. I really like that. Just being in a game where someone else is doing a nuke contract is at least a little bit different. It's a little bit more exciting, and now that's going to be happening way more often. They're also changing the Gulag by introducing a new public event where sometimes you'll go in there and the lights will be turned off, so you'll have night vision goggles and you basically need to fight the other person with night vision goggles on. I actually got to try this out early at Call of Duty Next, and it was absolutely bloody terrifying. I'm not sure if it was bugged or something, but you can see here in the video, this is what it looked like. I couldn't see anything. It was like the night vision goggles were turned down to like their lowest setting or something. I couldn't see where the enemy was at all. Apparently other people didn't have this problem, so maybe it was a bug, maybe it'll be a little bit brighter on other people. I tried pressing all different buttons and everything, it didn't change anything. But I'm still looking forward to there being a bit of variety in the Gulag. The next piece of new content coming to Warzone is the controversial one, or part of the controversial one, I should say, and that is the weapon case. So this is something that used to be in DMZ, and the way it worked there was you could fight a boss or something like that on each of the maps in DMZ. That would drop a weapon case for you, and then everyone in that game would know exactly where you were. And you had to try and exfil with it by getting to the nearest exfil, calling an exfil however you could. And if you managed to get out alive with the weapon case in your inventory, you'd unlock some sort of cosmetic. And I think each of the weapon cases in DMZ had like 7 cosmetics you could get. So it was kind of, you were trying to do the weapon case 7 times. And that was super fun. I really enjoyed doing those. The way it's going to work in Battle Royale is that at the beginning of a game, in the early game, there's going to be a search area. So I guess there'll be a circle on the map somewhere. And somewhere in there, there'll be a weapon case. You don't need to fight the AI or anything like that to get it. It will just be hidden there. I don't know if it will maybe be in a box or maybe it'll just be an item that will be hidden. Now, to get the reward from the weapon case, you not only have to find it, but then you need to either win the match, so get to the very end of the match and win it, or you can do the other new thing that's coming to Battle Royale, and the thing that I'm really excited about, that loads of people seem to be very angry about, and that is the Covert Exfil. So there's going to be a new mechanic where you can actually leave a game of Battle Royale halfway through. Now, it seems like the only real reason to do this is to get out with the weapon case, but there are going to be challenges and things like that. There's going to be a leaderboard stat for them. So some people might just see it as like, that's going to be their objective in Warzone. They're going to get into games, they're going to get some kills, and then they're going to get out using the Covert Exfils. It's going to be kind of an event in itself. You're going to call in a helicopter. I think it costs a lot of money, and then you're going to call in a helicopter. It'll probably send in a flare. There'll probably be some notification on enemy screens saying that there's a Covert Exfil taking on. So you'll have to defend an area for like a minute or two, waiting for this helicopter to arrive and then try and get out of it. Just kind of like an Exfil in DMZ. Now, I think this sounds awesome. It's another win condition for people, which I think is really good, because some people find winning a match of Warzone super hard. I'm sure there's plenty of people who have never won a game of Battle Royale, because it can feel so incredibly difficult. This is another way you can feel like you can win without necessarily just having to fight all of the best teams at the end of the match. So that's awesome if more people are going into the game and feeling like they're winning. Also, having the weapon case, being able to go for the weapon case, or being able to stop some other people going for the weapon case, because obviously you can pick it up if you killed somebody who has it and they drop it. So being able to do all of that adds more variety to the game. Like I was saying, it's kind of a different thing that can happen in your game. It's a different objective that you can go for. So I think that's going to be really good for replayability. And this seems like something that they could easily add to every map. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw weapon cases added to Ashika and Vondel, and then Rebirth and Fortune's Keep when they're added later in the year. It just feels like, just like with DMZ was, it's a very simple thing for them to add that can kind of change the way a map plays, gives you a chance to win some extra cosmetics, maybe some more exclusive things. I just think it's a really cool idea. Now, for some reason, people are super angry about this. I was reading through the blog post completely in isolation. I hadn't seen what anyone had said about it. And this was the one thing that stood out to me. This idea of getting the weapon case and then being able to exfil from a game of Warzone early. I was like, oh, that's really cool. That's something really different, something that we haven't had before in Battle Royale. Really excited to give it a try. Went onto Twitter, looked at Raven's post about it, and all the replies were people saying, we don't want this, nobody wants this, why would anybody want this? Just loads of people being super negative and saying, no, get this out of the game. And I literally don't understand why. Ted Timmons, who's the creative director of Warzone, even said in a tweet, he expects probably on average less than one team per game to manage to exfil. It's a difficult thing to do in itself, it's a challenge to do in itself. Like, how would this affect you? If you aren't interested in this whole mechanic, if you're not interested in early exfil, just don't do it. And then, at worst, the only way it could possibly affect you is that one team in your game might manage to get out in a game. So maybe there'll be one team less towards the end of the game. Maybe. I don't think that's a particularly big impact on your game compared to the people who are interested in it, people who do want to give it a go. They've got like a whole new mechanic, a whole new objective that they can play in Battle Royale games. And you know, I play a lot of Battle Royale. I play a lot of Warzone right now, and it does get a little bit stale sometimes. You know, you're playing for 2 or 3 hours, and you're just doing the same thing. You're dropping in, getting your load out, getting a few early fights done, and then you're trying to kill other enemies while you wait until the final circle, and then you try to win the game. And it's basically the same thing every time. Where the fights happen, that sometimes changes. Which guns you're using, that's pretty much always the same because you're just using the meta guns. It just feels like things get very samey. This is a bit of much needed variety for the game, and I'm super excited about it. If you understand why people are cross about this, please let me know in the comments, because I just don't get it at all. Then there's a few less interesting things that also come into the game. There's 2 new weapons, the HRM9, which is an SMG, and it says, a light yet stable 9mm submachine gun for close quarters combat. I mean, that sounds like so many guns we already have. Like, how is this going to be any different from all of the little quick SMGs that we've had in the game for absolutely bloody ages? It just seems insane to me that they're adding more guns. We already have too many guns, and they're adding more guns that just look and sound and feel the same as all of the other guns that we already have. I've got no idea why they're adding this. I don't see how it's going to be any different to any other SMGs that we already have. And then there's the TAC Evolver, which is an LMG. Again, we've got a bunch of TAC rifles. We've had the TAC M, we've had the TAC V, we've had the TAC Eradicator. Now we've got the TAC Evolver, which I don't really get how it's that different to the Eradicator, but it's another LMG. Apparently it can switch between 7.62, which I'm guessing will be more hard-hitting, will be higher velocity for long-distance fighting, I guess, or 5.56. So it's going to have a lot of attachments available. It just looks like another LMG. It just, like, that's it. It just is another LMG that I'm guessing will be pretty good. It'll have a big magazine capacity. It'll be pretty accurate. You'll be able to make it so you can run around quickly with it, just like you already can with the TAC Eradicator. It even sounds like the TAC Eradicator. I've got no idea why they don't put more interesting guns in this. Maybe it's just that there's too many guns already and they've literally run out of ideas. Then the last thing is that there's a couple of new operators with Firecracker, that's the other one from the boys, and then A-Train. So if you're super excited about the boys and you're super excited about getting to play as those characters, you'll be able to buy them, so that's exciting for you. So overall, I feel like I've ended up sounding a bit more down on this than I really was. I'm really excited about the weapon case thing. I'm really excited about the Covert Exfil idea. I think that's really cool. I'll be really happy if we see a few more Champions quests going off in games. Not really expecting to be able to complete one myself, but I am excited to sort of have that happening in games, have a little bit more variety. I think the Warzone changes are pretty good. Obviously, we're also going to get a balancing patch tomorrow, so they'll hopefully shake up the meta and stuff like that a little bit more. They've said that there's going to be a sort of small balancing patch this week and then a more major one happening next week at the beginning of Season 1 Reloaded. So hopefully things will be shaken up and the game will start to feel a bit more fresh again. Anyway, let me know what you think about all this in the comments. Let me know if you understand why people are angry at the Covert Exfil. And I will see you for the next one. Goodbye.